Assalamu alaikum. Today we will look at the fundamentals of Python programming language, and from the next meeting or next video we will start work on machine learning, different algorithms of machine learning. So let's start with Python fundamentals. I have already did the code, so in this video I will just explain the code to you. I'm using Jupyter Notebook, which is a compiler as well as it's kind of a notebook. You can create notes, uh, so that would be easy for you to read and understand. So I have did all this before. Let me increase the font, so maybe that would be more readable to you now. So to print anything on the console, you have to use print command. Print command can be used to print anything. You can print strings, and if you want to take any input from user, you can use input command. Let me run this and show you. So what first command, print command, printed the hello world, and then input enter name is displayed, and in front of enter name you can see input field. Whatever I write here will be then stored in variable x, and then it will be printed on the next line with again with print statement. So it is again printed in the next line. So in print statement you can print strings, you can print almost anything, lists, tuples, floats, everything. Similarly, you can in print statement you can print more than one values. Like I have used 3 values in the print statement, and you can see its output below. It has displayed 3 values separated by single space. And we can also specify separator and end of a print statement. By default, print statement is ended by next line, uh, and we can change this rule. For example, I have printed again the 3 values as before, but now I have mentioned the separator. Now the separator should be these 4 dashes instead of space. Space is by default separator, and end line should be asterisk instead of next line. Let me type 2 times and let's see how it displays. You can see now the separator is replaced by these 4 dashes, and the end of a print statement is replaced by this asterisk. So that's how you can override the print statement. Now we have different types of variables in Python. For example, and we do Python is not a tightly coupled language. Uh, we don't have to specify the type of variables, for example, int, float, etc. Python will figure out automatically at the runtime. For example, I have created a variable x and assigned the value 5. Similarly, I have created a variable y and assigned the value for. So you can simply print it using the print statement. And you can also change the type of variables at runtime. For example, what I did in this statement in line number 10, I have created a variable x and assigned an integer value. Then on the next line, what I did is I assigned a string value to the variable x, and now the type of the variable will be changed to string, and you can print it. Here's the output. Similarly, we can initialize multiple variables in single statement using commas. For example, I have created 3 variables x, y, and z. Then I have initialized them with values orange, banana, and cherry. And if we print them, you can see orange, banana, and cherry displayed on the console. Then in print statement, you can print variables in 2 different ways. First is using concatenation operator. You can simply concatenate it using plus sign, or the other way is you have to use f in front of inverted commas, and then you have to type your string whatever you want to write, and then where you want to use the variable, you have to use variable in uh, parentheses, in curly braces you have to use the variable. So these two statements will do the same work. It is your preference, whatever the way of outputting you like, you can use it. So they all do the same work. Then we have global variables. For example, in this code, I have created a local global variable named x is equals to awesome. Then we have created a function in Python named my function. To create a function, you just have to use def keyword. Def is used to define function, the name of the function, then round brackets, and then colon. And then you have to use indent or 2 to 3 spaces. You cannot write it here. Uh, if I write it here, it will give syntax error. So you have to use it in indentation. So that's how this will be part of this function. Without indentation, it will not be the part of this function. So in this indentation, I have specified that the x I will be using in this function is our global variable, not the local variable. So I have changed the value of x in my function, and then I have called that function in my program, and after that I have print this statement Python is and then the same variable, and you can see currently the output is Python is fantastic. But suppose if we do not specify that it is a variable, global variable, then x will be created uh, as a local variable here, and it will be destroyed after this scope, and this x will remain the same. Its value will not be changed. If I run it this time, now you can see x value is not changed because uh, it didn't change the global x, it just created a local x and assigned the very fantastic. And when the scope of the function is ended, the local variable x is destroyed also. So if you want to change the value of global variable, you have to use global keyword in the function. Okay, then we have different data types in Python. For example, x is equals to in inverted commas, either you can use double inverted commas as well as you can use single inverted commas. So these are used for strings. Then we have integers, floats, boolean data types, lists. We can use lists in Pythons. Then we have tuples. Tuples are surrounded by round brackets while lists are surrounded by square brackets. Tuples can have round brackets, and tuples can be uh, initialized without round brackets like this also. The difference between list and tuple is the list values can be changed, but tuple values cannot be changed. Alright, then we have dictionaries in Python. Dictionaries are key value pairs. For example, here we have the key, colon, then value, then comma, and again key, colon, value. Dictionaries are key value pairs. These dictionaries are just like JSON format. Then we can do typecasting in Python. Like we can convert from integer to integer, float to integer. If we convert float to integer, the pointed part will not be stored in integer because integer cannot store floating values. So it will only store the value 2. Similarly, we can cut from string to integer if possible. But if we have other string, for example, uh, let's say this is our string. So this will not be able. We will not be able to convert this into integer, it will generate an error. But if it is convertible, then it will convert it into integer. Similarly, we can convert it values to float, and similarly we can convert values to strings as well. uh, then we can assign multi-line values. Either the first way was like a is equals to this way, but this was used for single line values. For example, if we want to use multi-line values, then we can use three inverted commas. Inverted commas can be either single or double, it doesn't matter. So that's how we can assign. And inverted commas are also used as a multi-line commands in Python. Like this is three inverted commas are also multi-line commands in Python, where hash is single line command, while triple inverted commas are multi-line commands in Python. Then we have different functions. For example, we can check length of a string. It will the len function will return length of it. Then we have strip function. Strip function will strip the spaces around the text in any string. Then we have lower and upper functions that will change the text size to lower or upper. You can see the outputs below as well. Then we can replace, we have a replace function from which we can change the values. For example, in this example, I have replaced the value h, replace the character h from hello world to yellow world. And similarly, we have a split function. We can split on the basis of any character or word. So it will return us a list. Similarly, we can find anything in our text. For example, uh, I have tried to find AIN in the above sentence. So it has returned true because AIN was present in the above sentence. But if it is not present, let's say which will not be present, it will return false. Then let's explore some listing details. We can initialize list using square brackets. Name of the variable, for example, cities is equals to then square brackets, then values of the list. Here we have Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and Karachi, and we can access these values using indexes. For example, Islamabad will be on 0 index. Run this. Oh, sorry, I have not created this. Let's first run this code. Now cities variable will be created. Now run this, and you can see Islamabad is on the 0 index. Similarly, Rawalpindi will be on first index and Karachi will be on second index in our list. Then we can get length of list using len function. Then we can add items to the list. I have already told you that you cannot modify tuples, but you can modify lists. So we can add anything on the list. So what this will do is it will add New York to the above list. If I print the list now, you can see it has added New York City at the end of the list. But what if we want to add anything at custom location? For example, I want to add another city after Rawalpindi. So I can specify the index. Let's say 2. Let's say what it does is now it has added the another city Lahore after Rawalpindi at 2 index 0, 1, 2. So with insert function we can add values at specific index, but in a print function, it will be added at the end of the list. Similarly, we have extend function, which is used to add which is used to uh, merge two lists. In extend function, I have specified another list which contains two values, New York and Delhi, New Delhi and Wuhan. If I run this and if I print the cities list now, you can see it has added Wuhan and New Delhi to the list too. Similarly, we can count how many times an item is appeared in the list. For example, to check how many times Islamabad is appeared in the list, we can check it using name of the list dot count function. It says that Islamabad is appeared only one times. But suppose if it Islamabad is appeared more than one times, let's say uh, add Islamabad one more time in the list, and if we print the list now, you can see Islamabad is now present more than one time. And now if we count again, it returns to that Islamabad is present two times in the list. Then we can copy list using list.copy. It will copy list by value, and then we can print it. Let's print the another value, which is cities 2. So copy function will copy all the values of the list to another list. It will create another list, and all the values will be copied to it. But if we directly assign like this, we have created another variable cities 3 is equal to cities. Uh, it will be copied by reference. It will not create another list. While the cities 3 variable will be referring to again the cities list as well. For example, if I remove Islamabad from cities and then print, let's say, uh, after removing Islamabad, let's print the list. You can see first Islamabad is removed from cities list, but if I print, uh, I haven't run these commands yet. Let's run this first and now print this. And now let's remove Islamabad again. And after removing Islamabad, let's print this list. Now you can see Islamabad is removed from list of cities as well as list of cities 3, because cities 3 was referring to the same list cities, because it was copied by reference, while we have a separate copy in list 2, which is which was copied by value. So if we change anything in list cities or cities 3, it will be changed on the other list cities or cities 3. So these two lists are basically pointing towards the same data, while cities 2 is a different data list. So that's the concept of uh, copy by reference and copy by value. Similarly, we have pop function. What pop function will do is you can remove value by index and it will print the value that you have removed. For example, I want to remove value at one index, which is Lahore. Let's remove this, and you can see it says Lahore. And similarly, we can sort list in any order, ascending order or descending order. sort function will sort the list in ascending order, while if we specify reverse is equals to true, it will then sort it in descending order. Similarly, we have negative indexes in Python too. Let's print what we have in real list now. For example, our cities list contains currently this data. We can also select data from list using negative indexing. You know, this is 0 index, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Karachi is at 4. But if we specify cities minus 3, what it will display? Let's run this. What it has done is uh, it has indexed list from right to left. For example, it has indexed Karachi as minus 1, New Delhi as minus 2, and New York is minus 3. And similarly, Rawalpindi will be on minus 4. Let's print this and see what's on minus 4 index. So you can see Rawalpindi is on minus 4 index, as well as Rawalpindi will be on 1 index. Let's run this. So similarly, you can see we can index it using positive index as well as negative index. Positive index will start from 0 from left to right, and negative index will start from minus 1 from right to left. Similarly, we can display multiple items of list. For example, I have said to display items from index 1 till index 3. So it will display two values, index value of index 1 and value of index 2. Before index 3, it will display all the values. On index 1, we have Rawalpindi, and on index 2, we have New York. And we can also say that print all the values till index 3. Let's run this. So it will print all the values starting from 0 index till index 3, 0, 1, 2. So it have displayed 3 values. Then we have dictionaries in Python. I have already told you dictionaries are kind of JSON format which are in key values pairs. So to create a dictionary, you have to use curly braces and then key values. I have used curly braces. Inside I have used key name colon value, email colon value, year of birth colon value. So that's how you can create dictionary, and you can print the dictionary too. Here you can see here dictionary is displayed. To access any item in dictionary, you have to use its key. For example, person was the name of the dictionary, then name was the name of key. If we print this, you can see it displays person names value. Similarly, we can add more items, more keys in dictionaries. To add any key in dictionary, just you have to write dictionary name, then square brackets, and then name of the key is equals to value. So that's how you can add another key to the dictionary. I hope it's clear. To delete any key in the dictionary, you just have to use del command. Del key will delete any key in dictionary. So I have specified key ID of dictionary person. So it will delete it, and then we can also print keys as well as values of dictionary in for loop. So what we can do is for x in name of dictionary, here will be x will be the name of temporary variable which will be iterated in for loop, and after in I have specified the name of the dictionary. So what it will do is it will iterate through all the keys of the dictionary. So in the print statement, I am using again two values. X will be the name of the key, and in person x will return us the value, and I have used separator here column. And if we run this, You can see it has displayed as key colon value, key colon value, key colon value. Similarly, we have if else in Python, which are very simple. What I have done in this example is I have created two variables, and then in the if statement I have compared them. If b is greater than a colon, then I have used indentation and printed a message. Then we have else if, we can use else and if in the same line using elif statement. Elif means else if. Another condition, and at the end I have used else. So that's how you can use if statement. Then while loop, I have initialized a variable I is equals to 1, and then I have compared while I is less than 1 colon, and all this thing is in loop. So if I comment this code, it will print the whole loop till 6 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has printed till 5 because we have started it from 1 index. If I have started it from 0 index, or I have used condition less than or equal to, then 6 will also be included. Then we have break and continue. We can use break and continue keywords is in loops. Break is used to break the loop. I have used the condition if I is equals to 3, then break the loop. Let's run this. What it does, when I reaches 3, it just stops the loop. It just gets out from the loop. Similarly, we have continue keyword. What continue will do is it will skip that iteration only. Now if we run this, no, data mistake. Let's break this. We did a mistake. The mistake is if I is equals to 3, we have told that skip this step, so it skips increment steps too. So let's cut this and place increment step before it. No, run this. Let's run this now. Let's print this in after continue. I think that would be fine. And start this from 0. That would be good. Let's run this now. You can see 3 is skipped, 1, 2, and when it has found that I is equals to 3, it has skipped to print. It has skipped what's next in the loop, and uh, gone to the other iteration, which is I is equals to 4. So continue is used to skip a specific uh, portion or specific condition, while break is used to break the loop. Similarly, we have for loop in Python, which is kind of same we have used in different programming languages, where we have specified for, then your variable name, which will be used in alterations, temporary name, which is used in for loop. In range, you have to specify your starting point, your ending point, and then number of increments you want. For example, uh, I want to print even numbers till 20. So let's start from 0. Name will be 20. If I want to include 20, then I have to write 21. So that's how 20 will be included. And let's say incremented by this, right? You can see 0 and then incremented by 2 till 20. Then we have functions. We have already used one function before. Define function using def keyword, def colon, then your function body. The things which is in indentation will be function body. Let's say print something. We have two statements in function, and that's how we can call a function. Let's run this, and you can see even my function is called. These two statements are executed. Then we can pass different parameters to function. Passing different parameter to function is really easy. What I wanted to show is we can also pass unknown number of arguments. For example, I have created a function def pizza. Then I have added two variables. First one is size, second one is flavor. Then third one contains terrace in front of it. By adding terrace, it becomes a tuple. If we run this now, this function is executed, which will print you have ordered the pizza of size, and flavor, then flavor will be printed and toppings. And I have told toppings is a tuple. So it will create multiple values here. And now I am calling the function. First value will be assigned to the variable size. Second value will be assigned to the variable flavor. And all the rest of values will be assigned to this tuple. Let's run this. And you can see you have ordered pizza of size 12, which is taken from here. Flavor, which is again taken from here. And all the rest of values are assigned to this topping variables, which are shown as a tuple here. And we can return multiple values from a function. For example, here I have created a function add, which returns sum of two functions, as well as it returns original values, val variable 1 as well as variable 2. And here we call it, so basically it returns three values as a tuple. So I have stored these values in a variable result, and I have printed the result variable. You can see it has returned all the three values, 5 plus 6, 11, then 5, 6 original values as a tuple. So as a tuple, we can return multiple values from function. Then we have classes in Python. Basically, classes are structure which contains similar attributes, which contains basically which is used for objects which have similar characteristics, similar attributes and behavior. For example, I have created a class, then indentation as usual. Then I have created a function whose name is init. Init is used for creating constructor in Python. So I have created a constructor on, and as a first parameter I have passed self. You have to pass self argument in the first parameter. Then I have added other parameters to make it parameterized constructor. To initialize any variable or attribute at class level, you have to initialize it with self keyword, like self dot then name of the variable you want is equals to make, which we will get from here. Then self dot model, which again will be class variable, which will be assigned value model. Self dot here. So that's how we will create a constructor. And to use value of the class variables in any function, You also have to pass self in the function names. For example, description, I have passed self, and we can access only class attributes using self keyword. Self dot name, self dot this. So let's run this. So this class contains three attributes and three behaviors, three functions basically. And to create an object of class, you have to write name of the class, then again parameters. Here the parameters are, these are the parameters. Make here a model, and I have told you you have to use self in every function and constructors. So that's how you can use attributes in classes. So let's run this. So an object will be created and stored in a variable named car1. To access anything from object, you can use the name of object car1 dot, and then you can see the situations here. Car1 dot, uh, unfortunately you can't. Let's say move, and run this. Now you can see a function move is called. You don't have to pass any argument because self is managed by Python. And here self dot make, which is Toyota, is moving, is printed. Similarly, we can call another function using objects. And then after objects, we can read and write data from files. To read any file, you just have to use these keywords: with space open, then name of the file, then you have to specify modes. There are three major modes in Python: R for reading, W for writing, and A for append. And as file will kind of, you can say, it will wrap all this thing in a variable name file, and you can use this in the further indentation. So if the file exists with the name testing.txt, it will read the file, and we can read the content of the file using file.read method. Read method will read the content of the file, this file, and if the file doesn't exist, it will generate an exception. Let's run this, and you can see it has generated an exception because file doesn't exist. See, then we have write mode. Write mode is used to write anything on the file, and write mode will automatically create the file if it doesn't exist. Currently, I can show you the folder where I am using this. This is the folder in which you can see no file exists with the name of testing.txt. And if I run this code, you can see a file is created with the name of testing.txt. And if I open this, you can see it contains hello world. And no, again, if I read this file, you can see hello world is printed. So W mode will create the file if it doesn't exist. And if we write again anything with W mode, it will override the previous code, previous data in the file. For example, I have run this statement, and let's read the file now. You can see it is only displaying this is testing because it has overridden hello world in the file. And if I display the file now, you can see it only displays this is testing. To append anything on the file, you have to use a mode. Okay? Again, with space open, name of the file, then mode is equals to a for append, as file, then file dot write. So this will append data on the file. Let's say file dot write, then write this thing, run this code, and know if we read the code, read the data from file. Now let's read data from file. You can see, no, it has previous data as well as newly appended data, hello world, which we have just appended. So append mode is used to append data in the file. Write mode is used to write data on the file. Write mode will automatically create the file if it doesn't exist. And reading mode is used to read data from file. Reading mode will generate exception if file doesn't exist. Then we have R plus and W plus modes. Basically in W plus mode you can read data from file as well as you can write data from file. And same case is with R plus mode. You can also read data from file and write data to file. The difference between R plus and W plus mode is uh, W plus mode will create file if it doesn't exist, while R plus mode will generate exception if it doesn't exist. For example, with open, I'm using another file, myfile.txt with W plus mode, and I'm going to write file.write, and let's comment file.seek for now, and let's see. Then we try to read the data from the file. Let's run this. You can see in the output there is nothing, but a file should be created with the name myfile.txt, and this data should be displayed on the written on the file. So I have a file named myfile.txt. Let's open this. You can see it contains the data. The file doesn't exist, which we have just wrote down on the file. But we were unable to read the data from the file because after writing the data, the pointer is moved at this position of the file after exclamation mark. And when we set it to read the file, it has started reading from this position. From this position, there is nothing, so we have to move the pointer back to the starting point. So we can move the pointer back to the starting point using seek method. I have said move it to 0 index, and then again if we run this, then it will read from again the starting point. So you can see we are able to view data of file. Then we can read and write data from CSV. To read or write CSV, you just have to import another library which is CSV. So first you have to write import CSV, then again similar syntax with open name of the CSV file and mode reading or writing which you are using, and again it will generate exception because anything.csv does not exist right now. So let's create a file using this command with open, let's say xyz.csv with write mode and csv.writer. I have passed the file, bob file. It will give us the writer. Then I am going to write row, file writer dot write row, and let's say forwards bs23. Let's write this in file. Run this. Now you can see xyz.csv is created. Let's display this. Sorry. So xyz.csv contains three values separated by comma, forward, bs, and 23, which we wrote down just now. And if we want to display it, I have to write the name of the file, which is xyz.csv, and in the read mode we have to again pass csv.reader, same file as above, and then for loop that will display contents of the file. So you can see it has displayed one list which contains 4 BS and 23 and other list is empty because there was some space in the file, so that's why it has printed empty list. If we remove the space, it will only just display the file data. Each row is displayed as a list from CSV. Then we can read or write JSON. To read or write JSON, you have to import a library named JSON, import JSON, and then I have created a dictionary named customer and the key value pairs in it, first name, value, last name, value, age value, and then I have used with open, created a file named jsonfile.json with write mode as file. Then I am using json.dump, then name of our object, which is dictionary customer, and then file name. Let's run this. So it will create a file named uh, jsonfile.json. Here it is, and here you can see our JSON value is stored. Our dictionary is stored in this file. To read it, you just have to open the file in reading mode. Then with json.load command, you will pass the file and then you can print the content of it. Here you go. Then at the end of the studio's video, we will learn about exception handling. Um, like in different programming languages, try catch block. Here we have in Python we have try except. For example, if there is no exception, it's a 5 divided by 5. There will be no exception in this case. Let's run this. So it says if accept a block is called, then else will not be called. But if accept block is not called, no exception is generated, then else block called, will be called. So it says no exception, and finally is always called. Either is generated or not. Finally is always called after try. So it finally says done. But if exception is generated, if we divide something by zero, exception is generated. Dividing by zero is not allowed. It generates an infinity. Let's run this, and you can see no exception except block is called. Else is not called. Only except is called, which says exception caught, and then finally, which is always printed. So I hope you are clear with the basics of Python. And in our next lecture, we will start work on different machine learning algorithms. Allah Hafiz.